Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a very exciting edition of a pain-free comeback recovery story. I am joined today by Chris Kirchhoff up in Seattle, Washington. And Chris has an amazing story to share about recovering from 3 years of Achilles tendinopathy. So, Chris, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for
Um,
having
w-
me.
Thanks for taking the time to share your story. One of the things that I really love about your journey is um, you are somebody who is like really into fitness, which we'll get into. It's your not just like a passion, but it's your livelihood, it's your business.
Yeah.
And you also went through so many different treatments to try to recovery. I was reading, I
hmm
was going back over our notes from sessions, and you had, I think, physical therapy, chiropractic, surgery, all sorts of different things. And I know how stuck you were. And
hmm
um, recovery wasn't a straight line. There was a lot that didn't happen for a long time. And then the recovery started to snowball in a really positive way. So
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
excited for you to share that with everybody
Yeah.
later today.
Yeah.
So take us into before your injury or before this pain happened. Like, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you like to do,
Yeah.
what your life is like.
Yeah. I think, like you said, I'm a fitness trainer by profession. And then in 2015, I started doing adventure travel. So, I think early on I was originally I think in high school and college I played soccer. And then so sports was my thing, and then later I started running and doing triathlon and cycling and doing all kinds of stuff, and it was always active, and then weight training in my job, and
Mm,
and ran an outdoor class, and so we would run around outside. And so it's just always been a part of my life, since childhood. And then later, yeah, I think right before this happened, I was mostly running. I would say I wasn't doing as much of the other stuff, but running and hiking probably, you know.
mhm.
And I was logging in some miles, and I remember my calves starting to flare up, and Achilles tendons and that kind of thing. And so, which is very common for someone who runs and then starts to ramp up their marathon training and their half marathon training. And it
Mhm.
just it can be. And I remember working with people that had that kind of chronic
Mm.
injury.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it started to happen, did you notice, like, did you think of anything of it, or were you just like, oh, this is going to go away, this is fine?
Oh, I thought, yeah, it's gonna go away. I mean, you know, I'm fit. I've maybe had some things in the past that have healed up, so it's just going to be a thing. I'm just going to go to PT, and do some PT exercises, and then lay off on the ramping up of running, and kind of test it out and strengthen certain things, and stretch certain things. Kind of the normal protocol for Achilles tendinopathy. I mean, there's a protocol for it, so I thought, oh, I'll just
Right.
follow that and I'll be fine. I'm fit. And it did not go that way.
So take us through a little bit of like the treatments that you
Yeah.
tried,
Yeah.
this
hmm
protocol.
Yeah, so I'm a big believer in acupuncture and
Mhm.
naturopathic medicine. I did uh massage first, along with physical therapy. I had a great PT, and I did I was like A+ student,
Mhm.
and I tried doing it with some running and kind of testing it out, but it would always go back to pain, So then I just started kind of laid off on the running and did the PT. Then I did acupuncture. I did chiropractic. I did
Mhm.
three different kinds of chiropractors, um, different methodologies. I did reflexology,
Mhm.
uh,
Mm.
and massage, acupuncture. And then I saw, an orthopedist, and that was like the last thing I did was like, okay, he recommended 10x, or she recommended 10x surgery.
Mhm.
and which is like they go in and kind of scrape the tendon, and and then after that it got much worse. So it was
Mm.
bad, and it would always flare up when I went running, and then I would just kind of work through it, and then when I started doing all these other protocols, I would, you know, I did things like put cream on my leg, take herbal pain pills. I had all these things that I would do to go running or to go walking, And
Mm.
then after the surgery, it got worse, and I stopped, all the running, and I was teaching classes, and I was like getting on a bike to teach classes, or walking and having people run. I used to run with my people, and
Mm.
I was in excruciating pain, and mostly in the morning I would wake up and I would just it was painful.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I can understand the physical pain, but also the
Mhm.
just the emotional pain of having the thing that you love be taken away, right? Movement
Yeah,
and activity, and
yes.
with your business.
hmm it was debilitating. I mean, to be honest, it was a really hard time in my professional career, my
Yeah.
professional life, and and my family too. They were like, okay, just feeling very uh defeated and a little down about it, like depressed, and like, what am I going to do? This is my livelihood.
Yeah.
I can't move, and really blaming myself. I think that was worse than the actual
Mm.
physical pain. Physical pain was a reminder of, did I do
Mm.
this to myself?
Yeah. I'm curious if the messages that you received about your diagnosis, about your symptoms,
Oh,
reinforce that idea that this is my fault, I'm to blame.
yes, like you're overtraining, Chris, or
Mm.
did you do your exercises, or are you resting? Are you over exercised your whole life? All these,
Mm.
questions. Or did you choose the right did you probably chose the wrong therapy for someone your age, and
Mm.
being a menopausal female or whatever, you did the wrong surgery. So that was
Right.
dumb, and me being in this profession, like I should have, And then they actually referred me, I forgot that, to a podiatrist too, like, which is,
Mm.
let's put these orthotics in your shoes, which I just like, no. And then I
Mm.
also tried, different kinds of training methodologies, like fitness training, like instead of doing traditional lifting, different kinds
Yeah.
of lifting. And, that I felt a little better to do that, but it didn't really move the needle.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of money on all of this stuff too, you know.
Yeah. It's such a common story of, trying everything and then arriving
Everything.
at the neuroplastic
Yes.
work.
Yes.
Um, and I think one of the things that is really interesting about your story too is not only was there pain, but there was swelling as well. Like there's this real physical, like you
Yeah, there
can
was a
see that it's
huge bump
yeah,
on my heel. hmm
yeah. So like this idea, like, whoa, it's okay, there's something physical here.
Yeah.
And
Like, this isn't in
some
my mind, is what I remember
right,
thinking.
exactly. Exactly. You went from having this very real physical diagnosis, seeing this bump on your foot, being in debilitating pain. And then what happened to get you interested or get you curious about the neuroplastic side of things? I think it started with a meditation, right?
Yes, absolutely. I was sitting outside my backyard, and I can remember thinking, oh my gosh, I really would like some help on what to do about this pain. Like,
Mm.
how can the universe help me? And I was like out in the garden with the Buddha and the trees and plants, and I thought, oh, please help me, in some way navigate this. And I swear this is so crazy, but my insight timer, I was about to do a meditation, and it was your name, and it was about TMS, and somatic, uh it was something about pain free,
Yeah.
7 days
Somatic
or something.
tracking, right? Oh, the
Somatic
course.
tracking,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
And I thought,
Yeah.
I'm going to take the course, because I'm a subscriber. So it was like no big deal.
Yeah.
And I thought, huh. And then I remembered, and I remembered that I had referred a client like 25 years ago to John Sarno's Healing Back Pain book. And,
Mm,
when I read about you and your bio before I took the class, I was like, I'm going to read about who this person is. And you had mentioned his book somewhere. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is a
mm,
sign. Thank you.
mm.
And so I started the class. I started your meditation classes, and I don't know, I just thought something feels better. I just felt a little bit more at ease just from taking the class. I
Mm,
thought, this is crazy. I mean, I knew that I had referred that book to someone years ago, and she had seen Dr. Sarno for her back pain, and she said to me, this was life changing. I don't know how to explain it. And I kind of had that memory, but I
mm.
never had experienced it myself, and I read the book, but I didn't have pain. I was just trying to think, is this a good thing for people, for clients that are in chronic pain?
Mm,
And it sounded interesting, but I had never had the experience. And now I can say that I have had that experience. But yeah, it
yeah,
was the your meditation course, the on Insight Timer, that
yeah.
made me call you. And I thought, I'm gonna call this person,
I think
you
this is the
know.
first time that you shared the full story of like the kind of sending out a prayer to the universe before,
It was crazy.
which is
I mean,
incredible.
yes,
Yeah. Um, and the course, so from pain management to pain free is the name of the
yes,
course on Insight Timer.
yeah,
And yeah, I remember you said like, all right, this resonated with me, and
hmm,
then you reached out. We started working together the end of August, so
yes,
end of August
hmm,
2025. And I think the thing that I was honestly curious and a little bit concerned about was the fact that you had this, very real bump and swelling in your foot. And I was like,
yes,
is this, can we actually work with this? And given that
yeah,
I'm not a medical doctor, I don't pretend to be.
hmm,
One of the things that I suggested you do before we start working together was, hey, go
yeah,
see Erin Brunell,
yes,
PT,
hmm,
for a virtual session. She can evaluate you virtually, and
yeah,
she can rule in whether or not your symptoms are neuroplastic and whether this approach will
hmm.
work for you. And I'm curious if you had any reflections from that experience, because I know her
Yeah,
stamp
that
of
was
approval
crazy.
was
Yeah,
important.
because I was wondering about that. And even in then, even though I was like, I want to believe in this, I was skeptical. Like, I was like, how is this is a bump? How is this, coming from my brain or whatever? So when I saw
Right.
her, she had me do a series of exercises. She was great. And that was really helpful. And, she had me walk, and she looked at my gait, and then she had me do some, uh, comparison to each side. And you know she just said, you have the same mobility on each foot, you have, so it's not a structural issue, you know and the thing is when you hear that, it's different than hearing, oh, you have whatever diagnosis,
Hmm.
um
Hmm.
your brain has a different message, so I don't know, that felt like, oh, okay, it was helpful,
Right.
to know, okay, it's not structural. It's not my ankle bone, or, like it's, and that I believe, I mean, I always believed that the body could heal, but it wasn't. So then you lose. I always thought, oh, I can push through this. I can do this. That's my background as a coach, as
Hmm.
a trainer. But in my own body, when this was happening, it was really hard for me to feel that. And so
Yeah.
that was a good thing to do, is to go talk to her and her say, there's nothing structural, so this is going to be good, whether you work with me or you work with Alec. I think this you could be a good candidate for this, which I
Yeah.
was like, I mean, it was like, oh, hopeful,
Right. And I love that you saw her beforehand too. One, for me, it provided me the confidence that, all right, we're not going to do any damage if we,
Yes,
start to get
yeah,
back to activity, which is vital and important, for anybody watching
mm-hmm.
this,
Mm-hmm.
to get a rule out of issues. Um, but also just for, you know, the confidence that you had going into it, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it can be easy to say, well, okay, nothing's happening, so maybe this doesn't work for me. And I know for the first few weeks that we started working together, your
Hmm.
your diligence, like, you're such a dedicated, motivated person. You were so consistent with the exercises, and not much
Yeah.
happened. And I think potentially
Yeah.
having, um, that not diagnosis, but that rule in from Aaron for
Hmm.
neuroplastic symptoms, is maybe motivating to say like, right, it's just a matter of time, just being
Yeah.
consistent, keep going. But I'm curious if you could talk a little bit about the first, few weeks where you didn't really see much happening.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't think it would, I thought it would take a long time. I mean, I thought, well, this is going to take
Hmm.
time, So,
Hmm.
and then I remember thinking in my head, like, okay, this is probably going to take time. It can't, if it could happen overnight, everybody would be doing it, or whatever. You kind of think that way,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I was diligently doing the exercises, and I just remember going, you just got to go, you got to go through this process, and realizing, like, in our sessions, that there were some emotional things there were, and maybe that I was doing the exercises and doing the rote,
Mhm.
like, but not feeling, maybe, which is common, I think, for many people, but definitely for
Yeah.
me. I can't speak for everybody, but it's
Yeah.
like, okay, am I really believing this, or am I just writing this down? Like, let me sit with it and
Mhm.
really connect to, you know, kind of to see,
Yeah.
so, but it was frustrating at first, because you think, I want this to go away, and it why isn't, and part of me is like, why isn't it going away? But then the other part's like, oh, it takes time, Chris, be
Right.
patient, and then you were
Right.
just so patient, and trying to, just, I know you see all kinds of people probably, and just like, okay, well, you know just having the patience to work with me, and to know, I would get frustrated,
Yeah.
in
And
the beginning.
one thing that I remember from our sessions, well, one, I think you had been on this journey of doing a lot of other inner work.
Yes.
That was
Mhm.
just so important, I think, to set you up
Mhm.
for this recovery that you had
Yeah.
through your symptoms.
Mhm.
The other thing was, I remember in one of our sessions, you were seeing a little bit of progress for the first, like, I think
Yeah.
maybe 5, 6 weeks. And then there was a session where we just talked about the emotions of what it had been like for the past 3 years. And I remember you
Mhm.
saying like, like, angry about it, I'm upset about it, and all these
Yeah.
things. And then it seemed like, I don't know if this is 100% true or not, but it seemed like things started to shift, like, almost around that
Mhm.
time, like, where your
Yeah.
recovery really started to accelerate.
I think once the emotions, I think you said this, and also my therapist, who I was working with at the time, said something similar, but emotions can be metabolized, you know like, you
Mhm.
can actually, it's not like, I had such a fear, and I think you recognize that, um of the emotional piece of it, and it's like, okay, I'm going to do all the exercise, I'm going to do what Alex says, I'm going to do exactly, and then not really deeply feel what was going on, or understand in a somatic way, you know um and even though it's like, okay, I'm going to do the meditation, it's like, it's checking off the meditation, but am I really, and then after that session, or a couple of sessions like that, where it was like, okay, let's get the pillow out, and hit
Yeah.
the pillow, or who is that speaking? You would ask me questions about, like, the emotional piece of it, whether it be anger or fear, or and that, I think that was the key. And also, like you said, working with somebody else on this more deeply, you realize, wow, that can be, you know, it doesn't have to be in my body holding in, it can be metabolized, or released, or, or I can be with it, you know,
Yeah. Right. Right. So well
all of
said,
it.
because we have all these ideas about what emotions are, and
Yeah.
ideas about how much we can handle or what they
Yeah.
do or don't do in our body. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, you being willing to dive into all of that, in addition to the beliefs about where your pain was coming from,
Mhm.
and symptoms were coming from, I think was so vital and important. Um,
Yes.
and I'm curious if there was a moment where you kind of you mentioned earlier, like the course on Insight Timer, you started to feel a little bit better.
Yes.
I'm curious, after a few weeks, like, was there a moment where like things really started to change, and when you started to say, "Oh, this is actually happening, this recovery."
Yeah, I think a couple times I can remember I woke up one day and I hit my wife in the morning, and I said, I woke up and I just went to the went to the bathroom or whatever and did the usual routine, but I had no pain in my foot.
Mm.
And I just kind of hopped out of bed, and and I it was like, Shannon, and she's like, wow, you do look like you're not, like that's so I remember that moment, because every morning it would be a thing. It would be like, here we go. And I wake up and that would be my first thought is, I'm gonna be in pain
Mhm,
today. It's
mhm,
crazy, and then
mhm,
I just got up, and there was no thought about that, and there was no pain about it. It was just
mm.
more of a thought like, wow, look at this, look at my body. I mean, it's
Yeah,
55 years old and
yeah, it's like there's hope
still
here.
going. There's hope.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
I remember another time just running up this, like going to grab something, and I had to hurry. And, you know, I just ran up the stairs. And you had said,
Mm,
it's okay to start jogging or do, and I was like, I'm going to wait. I just still had that fear. And I don't know what it was, but I didn't think about it. And I ran up there and I thought, oh, I don't have to have that
mm,
fear. I can throw in
nice.
some, and you were very encouraging about, like, just try it, see what happens.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
those two
And,
moments were, I can remember, like, what,
like,
you
this can
know,
happen, wow.
this
Yeah.
can happen. Like, I'm not, and I didn't even feel my leg going up the stairs, which is not,
Mm,
I would be hobbling, like half walking up the stairs. Like, it was so painful to walk. And my
mm,
job requires, like, I'll go with clients outdoors and walk with them, or I'll do, I'm walking the dog. I mean, just always walking as a, even when I wasn't running, it would be painful.
yeah.
So standing up, after sitting in
And
a car.
is it fair to say that after those two moments, there was still pain and symptoms? Like, you wake up, go to the bathroom, but maybe a few hours later came back, or you noticed it?
Yeah, I would say I
Yeah.
still had some intermittent, it wasn't, but I did was different. I think I was, like, able to be like, well, you know, pain can come, it can,
Yeah.
and I'm not afraid of it. And then as I did that more and more, it was what you teach in your class, but it's one thing to meditate about it, and then it's another to do it, like sit and meditate about it. And you said this to me. You said, okay, you can, sit and meditate about it, great, but now how do you incorporate it in your daily life? And I just kind of
Mhm.
learned to be like, curious, like, I'm noticing that there's something, and I wouldn't use the word pain. I would kind of think, oh, what's that feeling going, in my leg? And, oh, you know,
Yeah.
and then it would just get
Changing.
less and less. It's changing and go
Nice.
through the shape of it. And at first it was like very structured, kind of a little mini meditation. And now it's just like, my foot's a little creaky or whatever. And,
Mm, yeah.
so it's just a
That's
different
interesting.
way of,
Yeah.
noticing
Relating
it.
to it.
Hmm.
I think it's also important too, because some people will have those moments where, like, wow, things are much better for a day or a moment, but then
Yeah.
they feel the symptoms again, and then they start to think, oh, well, okay, I'm back to square one or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think just the approach that you had that was so diligent was like, oh, this is evidence of this is working, even if
Yeah, it's working.
stuff.
I mean,
Yeah.
and nothing. I mean, nothing. In physical therapy, this training that I did, I would feel good while I did it, but then afterward, I would be in pain.
Mhm.
And, even, and then I was on, like, rubbing all this stuff on my legs and doing all this stuff, and it wasn't like this where there was a little bit better each time, and then as I did it more and more, it was a little bit better. And even
Hmm.
now, if I feel a little soreness, it's like, I probably did something too much or I sat somewhere, and
Hmm.
it's just a mindset too, you know.
Right. Exactly.
Hmm.
So I remember there was a few moments of like things that you did of like going on like
Hmm.
jogs like out in Hawaii.
Yeah,
You tried to do it pretty early in the
yeah,
and
I
that didn't
tried to
work.
do
You're
it.
like,
Yeah, it was.
but then a
I
few weeks
remember
later,
thinking, okay, I'm
yeah.
ready to run. I ran up the stairs. I threw in some little running, and then I thought, I'm gonna go for a run. Like my wife and I used to run every time we went to Hawaii, and I'm like, I'm gonna go running. And it was s- upsetting to me, like that I couldn't
Hmm.
run like I did before. So, and
Hmm.
you were like, oh, it's good that you tried, and and then you just had me do it in different ways, like, okay. And it's almost like I've worked with a lot of people, and you have to figure out what works for them. And,
Hmm.
in a similar way as a coach, it's like, huh, that didn't work. Okay, well, you know, let's scale it back. You don't have to go out and try to run 3 miles with somebody who's running. You
Right.
can, ease into it, or you can do a little, run that hard and then rest, or do it a different way. So,
Yeah. I remember you using
yeah.
the somatic tracking for exercise and activity meditation as well. That was
I
like,
love that. That was,
yeah.
yeah, that was my favorite meditation of yours. And I think it
Mm.
happened, it wasn't in the class, right? It was like, it wasn't in the course, it was separate.
It was, yeah, separate one. It's
Yeah.
on Insight Timer in the premium section, but yeah,
Yes. I
correct.
love that one, because then it's like, okay, if for someone who's in this process, how do you work with it and not such a narrow focus, like, okay, narrow focus into the area, and then what's going on out, what's going on out here. And it was an interesting way, and it was while exercising, and that was helpful.
Mm.
I used that a lot. I started with walking, and then I started to add it to running, and I still use it. I still
Yeah,
sometimes, I think it's really fun to be like, huh, I don't feel like running today, and maybe I do, and then it's like, you know
yeah.
so
And wrapped up in all of this too. So you get to the
yeah.
point where walking, like you're starting to walk normally,
Hmm.
and you're
Normally.
noticing it. Other people were noticing it, and I think
Yes.
it was after about 10 sessions where it was 2 months that we had worked together, and you're like,
Yeah.
the walking is so much better. I'd really love to get back to running. And then that's when things like really
Yes.
started to take off. Share a little bit
Yes.
about that kind of evolution of, okay, I can walk, and then getting back to running
That was
without
like a
assistance.
life changing thing for me, because it's like, I used to run 5 days a week, and I thought, I'll never run again. And at the point where I was like, I will never run again. Like, this doctor
Mhm.
told me, running is
Mm.
not for you. You should stop running. And
Mm.
it's like, oh, okay, okay, I'll start swimming, and then I'll start, oh, biking hurts. And so I just had this thought that I'll never do this again. And then I went and started to, even just to jog, like after I did that kind of thing where I ran and it was painful, I would just do the somatic tracking and just go, I'm not even going to think about my time or look at it, but just see what it feels like in my body to run. And it was like, oh, this is what the human body is meant to do. I mean, walk
Mm.
and run, and, you know, it was really awesome. It was so great. And I was so happy. I remember like telling her, oh my God, people are
Yeah.
like, but just to be able to do something that you thought you never would be able to. I mean, I was in doomsday. Like
Mm.
I'm never gonna run again. I just have to accept it, and trying to work with just accepting the change of that. And it's like, maybe there will be a day where I don't run, but it's different when somebody tells you, or you
Yeah.
believe you can't do something. And then when you change that belief and go, you're empowering yourself to be like, I can do this. And I mean, I like I said, I coach people, and I see this happening in other way. I mean, not like maybe with
Mhm.
chronic pain, but it's like, it's very empowering to know, I believe I can do this. And
Yeah.
that's how it felt. It felt really like empowering, and like I want other people
Mm.
to know that this is possible.
Mm.
to whatever it is, to be able to go back and do what you want to do.
Yeah. So well said. Um,
Yeah.
and I remember the example of you like running on the treadmill, or sprinting, right? On the
Yes,
treadmill.
I had a
Um,
trainer tell me, just let's see it, you know.
yeah, and you
And
just went for it.
I did. I had no, and I was at one point, well, okay, I have to have this shoe and this specific shoe and
Yeah.
this PT and research and this, and I was wearing no shoes. And and she just had me sprint on the treadmill, and I remember thinking, whoa, like I can't believe I'm doing this. And,
Mm,
it was more like analyzing, what does your gait look like, which I was a little critical of. But the fact that I was doing it was the point that you made. Like, but you forget, because I was like, well, it didn't look good. I was kind of
yeah.
criticizing myself, and you said, but you were, hello, you were sprinting on a treadmill, or running on a treadmill without shoes on. And I think when you said that, it was like, okay, I don't have to be afraid of
Mm,
going out for a run. I don't have to be afraid. And it did, and then I started to ask you about shoes, and you said, try it. Try the minimal shoe and try the big shoe. Try the Hoka, try the minimal, try, it doesn't matter. Just
mhm.
try all the shoes. Because I bought every shoe just to
Right.
see, early on. I was like, maybe it's the shoes, but it wasn't just shoes. It's like,
Yeah.
that's what we're told, you
Right.
know.
Right.
And so and when you change that and you have your own feelings and understanding of your own body, it's very empowering. You taught me to do it for myself, not for you to tell me this is, you know, but to be empowered in my own body, to be like, hey, doesn't, I can do this, and I can be
Yeah.
with this when it's a little uncomfortable.
Empowered is such a key word, right? It's taking
Empowered.
back your authority,
Yes.
your
Yes.
decisions over your body,
Yes.
essentially, right? Um,
That's how I really felt. And it was the first time I felt like that in a long, long
mm,
time.
mm.
I don't even think I ever thought about it. I just took it for granted, probably,
Yeah.
you know,
Many of us do until it's taken away, right?
until it's taken away. Yeah.
Yeah. So you went from you're sprinting on the treadmill, and then I remember
Yes.
this litany of like beautiful things that you were doing and running in
Yeah.
Central Park and the Chili Hilly and all this stuff. Like,
Yes.
share just a little bit about what you're
If
able to do now.
Yeah. So then I went to New York, and I remember I used to run Central Park. I want to be running in Central Park. So I did. I went and I ran. One day I ran the park, and then the other day I ran the river. And I was running, and I ran them back to back days, which,
Mm,
I was like, oh, I shouldn't do that. I'm just recovering. It's the same mindset, but I was like, I'm just gonna go out and see how it feels, and I can always stop if it's too much or whatever. But the second day when I was running the Hudson River, I remember I was jogging in the park, and it was really fun. It was a beautiful day, and I was with Shannon, and um, I told her, I can't believe this.
mm,
But we're running in Central Park. And then the next day I went by myself, and I ran, and I remember running. Like, that was where I was like, I'm running. Like, I jogged out, and then I was like, I was running, I was clocking kind of fast on the way back, and then I realized I was running with the wind. And I was like, whoa, I'm going so fast. But the wind was pulling me, but I mean, and I was running on the way out. I was like, man, this is really hard. Like, not painful, but I'm out of shape.
Where'd my
But it
fitness
was,
go? Yeah.
where'd my fitness go? And I thought, I'm running. And then I realized I was running against the wind and with the wind, but it was really fun just to be out there. And there was running groups, and there were people, and just to be part of my world getting a little bit bigger. It had
Mm,
gotten like, in my world, that was important to me, and to be able to do that.
yeah. Oh,
Hmm.
absolutely. And then you've also one of the things that you said you wanted to do is get back into biking, and
Oh
this
yeah,
friend
which
who had invited
a
you.
friend of mine,
Yeah.
one of my best friends, is doing some crazy 300-mile bike ride, and I was like, huh. that seems like a long way, but I'll train with you. I can't go on that date or whatever. And she's riding 300 miles over several days. And so I haven't been on a bicycle. I don't, I mean, I used to do triathlons. And so I have a bike from like 2010. It's a really nice carbon fiber bike, but it doesn't even have disc brakes. So, but I got it tuned up and I thought I'm going to go. And it was really nice day, cold day here in Seattle in February. And, uh, and it was no rain. And then it started raining. And I remember it's hilly. I mean, it is so hilly. And I was just going up the hill,
Mm,
down the hill, up the hill, no pain. No, I wasn't even muscular sore. I mean, it was weird. I was like, what?
mm,
I thought maybe this is what I should be doing, cycling. And so then I started biking. Like I've been like I think a couple times I rode 30 miles to my work day, around to
mm.
West Seattle and over to Bellevue. I've done
Wow.
in the last since February. I thought I'm going to keep it up, and then we're riding 60 miles next weekend,
Right on.
and then
That's
we're
so
going to
cool to
ride
hear.
100 miles together before she goes. So I mean,
Wow.
it's just, and do I get a little muscular sore now when afterward, or normal soreness? But it's no Achilles, nothing. I feel
Mm,
nothing in my Achilles, which is shocking, because that's where when I would bike, even if I got like on a Peloton or something like that, or I could feel it, and I'd have to
yeah.
go real light on the resistance. But this hill, chilly hill, Seattle is hilly. Like can't avoid the hills.
Yeah.
And it's
100%.
just, I felt like, wow, I can't believe I'm doing this. That really was interesting
Mm,
because I thought, I haven't gotten on a bike. And then I remember Shannon going, "You're gonna blow out your Achilles." Like she said that to me, and I was like, "Well, huh." I mean, it just made me think, should I be doing this? And then I just did it into nothing,
yeah. Beautiful.
So
And I'm curious, I don't know if I've asked you this question before, but the swelling and
yeah.
like the bump, do you still have that or is that
I have a little bit of it's not swelling, it's like a bone. It's like the changing. I don't know if you've ever seen people with heels, you know, it's like it kind of Achilles tendonitis I had, or tendinopathy I
Mhm,
had, was insertional. So it's right at the heel. And so you can see people when they have it, they have a bump. But
mhm,
mine was always red and it was really swollen. And now there's a little bit of a bump, but it's not red at all, and it's
mhm.
not really that swollen. But there's a difference in the two of my, if you look at it, there's a bump, a
Yeah,
little bump, but it's much different. And
yeah,
I'm just looking at it now. I mean, I forget about it,
mhm,
there is a little hardening of that area, which is just probably, gait pad, tissue, I don't know, whatever.
yeah,
But it's not red. It was always red, and it was always a lot bigger. So it's
mm,
much less. And I think if anybody looked at it, they might not even, I don't even know if anybody that a normal person would notice it. Maybe a doctor might touch it and notice a little bit,
I
And
I
the
think
reflexologist that I see, she always says, "What happened? This is incredible." Like she'll touch my, Achilles, and she actually can feel the, like I remember when I first got in there, she would crack my foot and very gently and work. I don't know if you've ever done reflexology,
mhm,
but
yeah,
she noticed, and the massage therapist too notices, and my acupuncturist, I still see them for different things, but like um noticed like the difference in that foot, and the tendon. So to me it means that your people say, like I remember people would say to me, "Oh, you've had menopause, it's probably likely that your tendons," and I would believe that. And I'm like, "Oh,
mhm,
I'm gonna have bad tendons, if I do this." And it's like, no, your body can heal, is what I
yeah,
believe now. I think, the tendon can, get some blood flow there and heal. And it's visibly, and like I said, these practitioners that are professionals can feel the difference and notice the difference. And I can feel it too. I can
yeah.
touch the quality of the tendon, and it's different. It's crazy,
I It's such a
crazy
cool
stuff.
story because there's some people who, when they read Sarno's books, they say, "Well, I understand for pain, but what about,
Hmm.
I have swelling or I have tightness or muscle tension or
Hmm.
all this stuff." your comeback story is such a beautiful example of how this work can change the body physically. It's not just the pain, and like with
No.
the naked eye, you can see the
Yeah.
change.
And I mean, I'm someone who works with people that are in pain and that are, stiff and that are stressed and, they come to see me and want to get in shape for a reason. And I talk about this and they think,
Yeah,
but I think, you know, it's such a gift because now I can know, okay, I can heal, but it helps me in my job too, and in my
totally.
life's work. It's like I can notice that, and as we're aging, it's like it happens more probably because people have more stressful lives and they have, things going on and have had injuries and things that don't heal and and I think it's important to know that I'm glad I had the I mean, in a way, I'm happy that I had this experience because then I can say, oh, you
Hmm.
can. Mhm.
Right. There's
So
it's
there's
possible.
hope. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
possible. And you can do it yourself,
Yeah.
with
Exactly.
some help, with a guide,
Exactly. As we start to finish up this interview,
Yes.
one of the things that I like to ask people is the physical transformation is amazing. And the transformation of, you know, internally
Mhm.
is something else, right? And
Yes.
some examples of that, like that you shared, were like I remember you took a rest day, like from exercise and stuff, and like that was one of the things that I think that we had talked about was like, hey Chris,
Yeah.
like taking a rest day and not needing to exercise and
Yes.
changing your identity and how you related to
Yes.
exercise and sport. I'm
Yes.
curious if you can share just a little bit about symptoms aside, what
Hmm.
the inner shift for you has been
Oh,
like
I
doing
think
that.
that was bigger for me. That just joy, having some joy and going,
Mm,
oh, this is actually fun. I'm going to go run
mm,
Central Park. That's fun. And I'm going to be with my friends and I'm going to go ride, be social and ride my bike, if I want to, and not like, okay, I'm going to look at my Apple Watch and time myself and I'm not going to put pressure on myself.
mhm,
It isn't that anymore. And I didn't know if I could do that.
mm,
I don't wear a watch, but I mean, I didn't know if I could. It's totally changed the way I think about exercise. It's fun, and I try to do and yeah, like, I think at first it was like a rest day. Like, I don't, even when I was injured, I would do weights but it's like now it's like it's it's kind of like if I don't really do things because I should in terms of,
mm,
it's like I really, it's different, where I was always like, I do this every morning. I should do this because I'm a trainer. And now it's like I'm working on actually changing, and not just doing, fitness training, but coaching people, and I don't know what that will look like, but maybe in the travel industry or whatever, working on
mm,
doing some of these things, somatic tracking and things, because it
mhm.
is such um it's just to be able to feel joy,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
movement at the same time, and not think of it as I gotta do this, I gotta stay in shape, I gotta look like this, it's a different shift in especially in my industry. Or I've got to
right.
perform for the outside. It's nothing to do with out there. It has to do with in here. And that's the big shift,
Bingo.
you know?
Bingo.
Yeah.
And that is what begets better performance. Like time and time again, I see athletes who their North
Yeah.
Star is joy, and that leads to better performance than trying to kick
Yeah. Like
themselves.
the woman that was in the Olympics.
Yeah, Alyssa Liu.
That's a
Yeah,
perfect
yeah,
example of she's just like, I'm gonna enjoy this. I'm not putting all that pressure on myself. And I'm gonna look like whatever I'm gonna represent myself. And that
yeah,
it was like, that's pretty cool. So yeah, that's it right there. It's
yeah.
like changing that perspective.
And
Yeah.
in a world where the standard or the norm is more kicking yourself in the butt and
Yeah,
tracking and
performance.
training
Yeah.
performance, to have a trainer who understands this, like, that joy should be at the root of all of this activity and movement, is
Yes.
very valuable that I know you offer your
Yeah.
clients.
Yeah. So it's such a gift, and to know, whatever it is for that person, like, you know, is important, not out there, not the
Yeah.
outward, performance. It's like whatever you're doing for yourself is going to bring you more happiness. So yeah, that internal part was such a gift. So thank you
Yeah. Thank
so
you for
much.
being willing to go on the journey and
Yeah, it
to
was at first I was
receive
like,
support.
yeah.
Yeah. But I was really impressed by the way in which you um, just approached the whole thing, and with the mindset of consistency and not giving up when things got hard. And it was really
Yeah.
beautiful to share that experience with you, to
Yeah.
hold some space
Well,
for you.
it's really nice to have someone who's there and it's like, okay, I feel comfortable, and it's kind of a vulnerable,
Yeah.
space for
Yeah.
everyone probably, but for me for sure. And I thought, "Oh, okay, I feel very comfortable,
Mm.
and safe,
Mm.
and so that was, it's really important, I think, to have that guide or a person that where we're exchanging energy, we're working
Right.
together, and I'm not doing this by myself, and there's someone to be like, okay, and then it's like, go do it.
Yeah. Do your thing.
So
I'm here to
do
support.
your
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, so that was, I mean, I tell people all about you, so
Mm.
I'm so grateful for you.
Thank you, Chris.
Hmm.
It truly is mutual. Like I'm so grateful our paths crossed. Um,
Yes.
if there's anything that you would tell somebody watching this, who is maybe where you were 6 months
Yeah.
ago, stuck,
Yeah.
still trying to figure things out, if you were to speak directly to them, what would you say?
Just, I think it's like, it's just try something, try this. And I think if you just take it day by day, it's like, instead of thinking, oh, I want to be here, or I want to, like, just do the exercises each day. And you
Mm,
will learn so much about yourself, and you will heal. So I think you just do, little by little. It's not all at once, but just like the iceberg effect, do the little things, and you will heal, you will feel so much better. And
mm,
you just gotta try it, and I think, you're like I said, having Alec there to help is, it's like, you can do this, but you just have to just take the leap. you know?
yeah, well said. Very last question. I'd love if you could spend a minute or so just talking about your business and kind of the work that you do, and if anybody
Yeah.
wants to get in contact with you,
Yes. Well,
sharing
thank
that.
you. Yeah, I'm a fitness trainer. I see one-on-one clients. I used to do outdoor classes, but now um, I do, strength and flexibility, and people with injuries come and see me. People that are training for things come and see me. Um, And I do adventure travel, which is really my passion. So we're supposed to go on a trip to Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, hiking in the fall, but we'll see what happens in the world. And
Mm,
I have a trip actually coming before that. I have a trip in April coming. Southern Utah will be my first domestic trip. And then Laos and Thailand coming. Korea. I'd like to do a biking trip in Japan. I've done Japan, but hiking pilgrimage. But so yeah, I lead women's trips. And I'm hoping, using from this experience and from my own coaching training that I'm doing, I'm hoping to use some of it in my retreats and adventure travel. So it's not just about outward health, but inward too. This has really inspired me. One of the things has inspired me to, to be for people to get in touch with themselves, that they can empower
mm,
themselves, they can heal in different ways and move forward and kind of move their, you know, North Star, go onto their path. And so,
mm.
yeah,
Beautiful. I wish
yeah.
I wish I were female and I could go on that trip.
I,
But if people do want to look you up for training or for
Yes.
going on these trips, you accept people outside of the Seattle area, correct?
Absolutely. We've had people from a lot of different states and actually
Cool.
different countries on our trips. So absolutely. KirchhoffFitness.com. I'm actually changing my website to reflect more of the adventure travel because right now it has training. It does have the travel trips, but so that will change in I think this summer. You'll see more. But yes.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Well, hopefully, yeah, hopefully some people who hear this and are interested in that, kind of having
Yeah.
a TMS
Appreciate that.
perspective and doing a really cool trip like that will be interesting.
Yes.
Um, so yeah. Well, Chris, thank you so much for taking the time. I think I said 45 minutes. I know we've gone over that. I feel like
Yeah,
there
no,
are
it's great.
so many more things we could chat about.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you being here. I'm so delighted
Yes.
for your recovery, how you're bringing this to the world, to other people, your passion
Yes.
for changing people's lives, people's fitness,
hmm
and
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and thank you.
congratulations.
What a great experience, and I really really appreciate you and all the help that you've given me and to the world. I mean, what a awesome thing that you do. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's mutual.
hmm Yeah.
Wonderful. All right.
Yeah.
Well, on that lovely note, thanks for joining me, Chris. Thank you,
Yes.
everybody who has tuned in here. And we will see you next time for another
Yes.
wonderful recovery story. Take care, everybody.